What's up? Welcome to another edition of Model Breakdown. This is a series in which I go over one particular kit per video, be it a single model kit, multi-model squad kit, vehicle kit, what have you, giving you, firstly, what the kit is and my overall thoughts and opinions on it, as well as any type of breakdown history-wise or what have you. And then after discussing thoughts on the kit in question, I will go forth and discuss my thoughts on building and painting said kit. I haven't done everything, but I've done enough where I can give a basic breakdown on how to attack it so maybe it doesn't feel as overwhelming or something. And then after that, I will go over whether or not I think the kit needs a redo, and regardless of what I think about that, if GW was to redo the kit tomorrow, what would I like to see done and why? So this is kind of a special one, a bit of a different one, because I've already talked about this guy before. So up on the chopping block is Abaddon the Despoiler. His old model has a breakdown. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to title it, or I'm going to modify the title so it says old in parentheses. And just for compare and contrast sake and all sorts of that stuff. But he's a big boy now. He's been eating his Wheaties. And yeah, we are looking at the new Abaddon model. It's been out for a little bit now. So the biggest change, if you want to talk about the history of this model wise, is that he's big in terms of being bigger. He's not like, oh my god, huge, but they built him to be around, not exactly the same, but with his trophy rack and everything, to basically be at the Primarch scale. He is juiced up by chaos, so sure, it works for me. Also, they wanted it to be something special. He's the big bad of the Chaos Space Marine, so yeah, I can see why. It doesn't really bother me. I know there'll be some sticklers out there, but at the end of the day, I don't really think it matters. If it works for the, what you could call the cinematic value of it, then I'm all for it. So I do like this model. This is proper Abaddon, I feel. The old model, looking at it by today's standard, was tired and in need of change for sure. But it wasn't terrible. It could be mistaken for a generic Chaos Lord, for example, if you weren't paying too close attention to it. This one, obviously size-wise and stuff, will not be. But even outside of the size stuff, this model has a proper setup to be somebody of importance. This is Abaddon, without question. And they really did good work here. They got more detail in Terminator armor. Again, being a bit larger helps put that detail there. They have his top knot still there, proudly displayed. He's got 3 head options, a kind of like normal kind of, mean face, a snarling face, and then a rebreather type of face, almost Mad Max style, to choose from. They gave him a cape as an option if you so desire, and honestly, I've seen the model with and without the cape. I'd say go for the cape. I don't see a reason for him not to have the cape. He looks fine either way. I just think the cape adds more of a dynamism to him. It just helps fill in the void space. When by void space, I mean his arms are out, in a wide pose. His legs are wide stance, like he's standing proud. It looks fine. Doesn't look like anything's missing, but when the cape is there to kind of fill in those gaps, it just, for me, completes the model better. The Demon Sword Draconian is, I think, of proper size and scale now. It looks suitably epic for what it is, and it looks like the lore and the weight behind it is there. Where before it was a really thick, kind of stubby sword, due to limitations of model making at the time. It was pewter originally, so I understand that, but just seeing it redone like this, it's such a better take on the sword. The Talon of Horus looks a lot better too. It's not just a square blocky thing with blades for fingers. It still has blades for fingers, but in essence, but it looks more organic-y, if you will. And I don't mean like, oh, it looks like organic design. I mean, it feels and looks more like a gauntlet, like it's supposed to be. The Talon of Horus, and the weapon on it is done suitably well, as well. So it just looks great. He has a good stance. His stance and pose, this is more or less what I was talking about in the old Abaddon model in terms of posing. You don't have to go crazy with it. He just needs a bit of a repose. And with this repose, he is in a stable, dynamic, static position, which I know sounds so contradictory, but what I mean by that is he's in a very organic pose. He could have there's a few things he could be doing in essence. He could be getting ready to cut down somebody approaching him, trying to charge him or whatever. He could get ready to fire at something, whether it's up on a, let's say, up on a ridgeline or something, or he's just getting ready to level the gun down and fire it. He could be conjuring some type of ritual, some type of ritual warp magic-y thing with his gauntlet hand. Like he could be doing something there. He could be getting ready to stalk forward or charge forward. Could be getting ready to issue an order with the sword, like charge and slash the sword forward. There's a lot he can be doing in this pose. And for a character like Abaddon, that's good. There are some things, such as let's say a coordinate berserker lord or something, where you want to have him a bit more obviously dynamic, either cutting something up or charging or something like that. But having this organic neutral pose that's not just staticky or over dynamic and weird, but instead allows for a variety of potential things to happen from that pose works very well for a character like Abaddon. And this works very well in general. The one thing I don't like about it is his trophy rack, only because it's huge. Doorways are going to be a problem. But I get why they did it. And in fact, turning it like it is and having it displayed like this makes him stand out from other models that have trophy racks. So it works. It's just, for me, it's a little garish. And a little extra height artificially. I'm not the biggest fan of trophy racks. I get why they have it for him and for Chaos. So, it is what it is. I do like the agedness of his armor. You can see the cabling on his torso and whatnot. The rubber cover over the metal cables, whatever. You can see the metal cables peeking through with some just holes and whatnot, signifying the age of the armor. And that it's well used. So you have a lot of nice little detail points on this guy for sure. A very nice, imposing model. Good detail, crisp, clear. I like it. So, with all that said, obviously, being a newer model, I don't own him. I shouldn't say obviously. I don't own this model. I don't have any real plans to buy it. But I've done enough models where I can talk about building and painting something like this. So this is definitely a centerpiece model for you if you're going to buy it. It's, if you don't know what that means, and you probably do by the title, it just means that this is going to be something that's going to be the linchpin of your collection, if you will. If you have your army on parade, if that's out there on either a display board or just out there for people to look at, he is going to be the focal point. Eyes are going to be drawn to him by his size, his presence, his sculpt, everything like that. So I say sculpt, but it's a pure plastic model. You get the point. So with that being the case, dry fit, and then dry fit some more. You can see the sprue on the website. I'll try to put pictures of it in the slideshow for them to appear randomly. So you're going to get a sense of more or less how it goes together. But before you apply glue to anything, dry fit stuff, and if it feels like it's going to get in the way for painting up some of the details that you want, don't glue it right away. Paint up the details first, then glue it, and then do any touch-up from there. So that is my biggest tip, is dry fit everything. Build in sub-assemblies when you are building. If you're going to use that cape, for example, definitely put it on last after you painted the main body so you can get all the details on the cape and on the Terminator armor. And just take it slow, dry fit. And I definitely recommend plastic glue. It's going to be a very permanent bond, but it gives you a bit more working time. So it takes a little longer to set to the point where you really can't move it too much at all, because it'll kind of slide back into position because it's partially melted, so it's going to slide back. But before it does that, it gives you a bit more working time to just get it just right. So dry fit, use some blue tack to put some sub-assemblies together to see how it fits, and then build to a point, paint, build to a point, paint, or whatever, back and forth. Get it to where everything's painted and ready for final assembly. That's my biggest, what's the word? Recommendation, tip, if you will, thought process. Definitely leave some things like the cape off until the very end, and then since you have 3 head options, see how the head goes on, and then paint that separately completely. It's flesh detail. It lets you do it without potentially dirtying up the rest of the model, needing more touch-up work. And then just go about your business. Now, he is black in terms of his armor, which can go smoothly, quickly, and look very sharp very quickly, or you can give yourself a very painstaking process of making some really epic black armor looks. It depends on how adept you are painting and how much time you want to take on it. But because it is predominantly black armor, you're going to have your chance to play with it and make it look really interesting in black, or you can do the basic black armor technique and have it look real sharp anyway. That choice is really up to you, and how you want to tackle it from there, again, is up to you. But I definitely recommend doing it sub-assemblies, painting it, putting it together for final assembly. Now, with that said, it's a brand new model, so clearly it's not going to get redone. And I don't really think it needs a redo. This is the redo that Abaddon needed, so he has a nice model now. It's about time. But if for some reason they went, psych, here's an update of them that we really wanted us to do, which is not going to happen, but if they did, I would love for them to address that trophy rack. I get why he has it. I'm not saying take it away. I'm saying maybe make it shorter. I don't know. It just feels awkward to me. Like, unnecessarily huge. Like, even on his flagship and on other stuff, he's gonna have a hard time walking through doors of his own fortresses and whatnot, let alone storming enemy castles, right? It just feels really silly in that regard to me. I get it. It just seems like it's a bit of an unnecessarily big display for the rack, but I understand why it's there. That's really the only critique I have. Completely, like, there's nothing, I don't really see a reason to critique anything else to any degree. I think the little base detail he has is very nice. I think the sword posed very nicely. I think the detail on his armor is very nice. I overall don't have anything else to say. Yeah, I'm still looking at it right now. I got nothing. He stands out enough that there really isn't anything worthwhile to say that isn't kind of a super unnecessary nitpick. The fact that his cloak is separate is at first I thought, oh, that's kind of silly, but I get it. Some people don't like cloaks, and if you want to add it, you can, no problem. So, all in all, I think a very well done redo, a proper update for a classic model or a classic character as Abaddon. So, at the end of the day, I think his price point is very worth it. At $60 US for what you're getting, a nice focal point centerpiece model. Just dry fit everything, use some blue tack to make sure things can go together the way you want it. Paint the sub-assemblies, do his flesh tones, do the head separate, and glue it in. His armor is black, so it can go together pretty nicely in terms of painting it. And it depends on how crazy you want to go at black, so you determine how long it's going to take. And then just take your time. It's a focal piece model. Just because it could go fast doesn't mean you have to do it fast. You can take a bit more time with it, a bit more care, just to give the little extra bit of pizzazz over, for the little extra time is worth it for a centerpiece focal point model like this. Anyways, very well done. Really cool pose. It's super neutral, but super good because it lets your imagination flow with what he's about to do next. So, anyways, share your thoughts on the Abaddon model. If you bought it, how'd you like putting it together? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. If you have any other questions or comments regarding videos, you feel free to post them in the comment section. And specifically, if you have just some type of random question, check out the community tab for the Q&A repository and leave your question as a comment to that Q&A little repository thing, and I'll get to it sooner rather than later. Thanks very much for stopping by. Hope you hit that subscribe button to be part of future conversations, and until next time, take it easy.